Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 85 of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I'm Ray Carcillo in beautiful Los Angeles, California. Joined my best friend in the entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. Lee, I'm almost tempted not to ask you how you're doing today, but you're a little under the weather, buddy. How are you doing?
You know, I said this on our live feed on Friday night. I'm going to say it again in the immortal words of Han Solo. I feel horrible. But I said I'm not suffering carbonite poisoning. I'm doing better. This lifts my spirits, and I'm happy to be here today with you, Ray, on episode 85 of Geeks Who Are Sick and Like Sports.
Yes.
Before we start the episode, I have a history geek thing to share with you.
Ooh.
We know I'm a history buff. You're a history buff too.
Yes.
And I thought this was cool. At first, I was like, "Is this lame?" And then I looked at it. I liked it. I was like, "Doesn't matter." I have the Revolutionary War Superheroes T-shirt that I got from thehistorylist.com.
That's cool.
Okay, it's George Washington, Ben Franklin, Abigail Adams, John Adams, and Alexander Hamilton, who recently came into lots of popularity for some reason.
So Ben Franklin's the Batman of that group, I'd imagine.
Oh, always. Ben Franklin was Batman.
Yeah,
right? But I also got this. This one's, I think, underrated, but I love it. So it's a sweatshirt, Ray, but it says on the front, as I open it up, on the front it says, you'll know the rest of it. It says, "Join us." It's a snake, right?
Oh, yeah.
And on the back it says, "Or die."
Yeah.
which is the flag of the original 13 colonies when they, remarked independence from England. I thought about it, what if people don't know what that is and it looks threatening? And then I was like, no, I don't really care. because if they don't know, that's their own problem. It's not mine. But Revolutionary War heroes and superheroes, and the severed snake, which I'm a
Plus, you're
buff.
in Philadelphia. Join us or die. That's a very Philly thing.
Right.
I think you're okay.
Absolutely. Bad things happen in Philadelphia. But I thought you'd appreciate that as a history buff, and I thought it was pretty cool. I am a fan of our founding fathers, flaws included, in the sense of they were flawed people, but they were also great people. And I thought that was cool, and I'll wear it with pride.
Well, that's good. Maybe wear it in the next episode or something, so it'll look good on you. There you go.
Style, Ray. Should have worn it in this episode.
So, it's all good. I mean, yeah. You didn't want to cough all over it. That's why you didn't wear it this episode.
I'll try and mute the next time I do that. I apologize.
It's okay. Sometimes it's an involuntary thing. It's all good. You know what also is involuntary? We can't stop talking about Star Wars, folks.
I know, it's Star Wars season. I love it.
It is Star Wars season. Just a quick heads up. We got a big show for you. As always, folks, a lot of sports stuff going on, especially in football. We have, of course, also we are going to talk about the Mandalorian shortly, but also a lot of video game stuff. And also, a new book is out that Lee will talk to us about.
Read all 367 pages in 4 days.
Nice.
Yeah, I was impressed with myself.
There you go. So that we'll talk about that later. But we are going to kick things off with Star Wars. It is Star Wars season. The Mandalorian Chapter 13, Episode 5 of Season 2. Ooh, excuse me. That's I actually had hot dogs right before we recorded, so I'll be sick later in this evening. So
I had a cheesesteak, so I'm doing all right.
Nice. Actually, I didn't do some. I had the Kansas City style hot dog. I put a little cheese and chopped onion on it.
Yeah. That's good.
I guess they call that Kansas. I've heard somebody call that a Kansas City dog, and I'm like,
I just call it the Ray, but that's okay.
Yeah.
What do you have the Ray?
The Ray. There weren't many Rays in this episode of Mandalorian. There were a lot of lightsabers though.
Yeah, there were. It was a great episode. Finally got to see Ahsoka Tano, who we've been waiting for months. Rosario Dawson, who I already had a crush on before she was in Star Wars, was fantastic as Ahsoka. Not to mention the storyline with the Mandalorian was great. So we have to say this now. This is a major spoiler alert.
Yes.
This episode did reveal some things that if you haven't seen it, you should see it. So, spoiler alert.
The earliest that this is airing, the next episode's already being out tomorrow.
Right.
You've had 6 days, folks.
We still warn you. We still like to warn you.
Well, we still like to warn you.
All right.
But if you haven't seen this episode, what are you doing?
Right. Now, I think enough time's passed that we've warned them. This is your final warning. But
yes.
We have learned that the child's name is Grogu.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Which is phenomenal. We have learned that probably larger Grand Admiral Thrawn exists in the cinematic universe now.
That was huge.
Massive. The episode itself was phenomenal.
Yeah.
They finally as we spoke about in previous episodes here, that Ahsoka knows the story of Star Wars, and she displayed that. She said, "I knew Grandmaster Yoda. I understand the Force." She even said that there's a lot of fear in Grogu, the child, and that she can't train him, and that she mentioned that the best of us had fallen even after having found fear. Now, I do want to gloat for a moment because I had said several times that I'm not convinced that the child is just great. All right. Now, I'm not saying the child's going to be bad, but the fact that there's much fear in the child does confirm that the jury is out on where Grogu is going to end up. Which is great. All right. So it just adds a whole nother dimension to the show. But overall, I'd say in terms of satisfaction, this got like a 10 out of me. In terms of overall episodes, probably a strong 8. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it was the best episode they had. But it was very satisfying. I'm excited to see where they go.
Yeah, it forwarded everything in a logical manner, in a way that makes sense and is good for the universe. Again, the episode that title, by the way, is The Jedi, which makes perfect sense, as obviously Mando is there to get to. He's looking for Ahsoka. He's looking to give the child to someone. But this is also where Grogu's fear comes from. Is that not only was it a freak, because we also learned its backstory. It was a child. It was a Force learner. It was on Coruscant during Order 66. Or actually, I shouldn't say that. It was on Coruscant, and it was taken away
prior to
during near the end of the Clone Wars.
Right.
So
and Ray and I have theories about that. That it's possible that Grogu was taken by someone sympathetic to the what would become the Empire to protect him. I'm guessing we'll find that out through time. We also have had discussions, Ray and I, about who's in charge of the Empire. If Grand Admiral Thrawn, which is a higher rank than Grand Moff, is out there, is he running what's left of the Empire? Is Moff Gideon loyal to him? My theory on it is that Grand Admiral Thrawn is probably trying to bring the Empire back together, and Moff Gideon's trying to start the First Order. That's my guess. Could be wrong. What we said, Ray, after watching that was that for the first time with this show, we have no idea where it's going. Like all the trailer footage has been shown. There's 3 episodes left. It can go any direction. We do have theories about where it could go, but we have no idea where it could go, and that's actually really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, Grand Admiral Thrawn, of course, a character who's been around since 1992 with the expanded universe, the Timothy Zahn books. One of the most brutal and cutthroat villains ever created in the Star Wars expanded universe. Became iconic, was added into Rebels. And another big thing is, and we'll get to this in a minute, what it could mean for Ezra Bridger from Rebels, potentially, the fact that Thrawn is supposedly still alive and around. But yeah, is Gideon working for Thrawn? Is Thrawn and Gideon at odds? Do they even both know about each other, or will that be revealed at a later date? Like like we've mentioned this before, and it's been mentioned many times over the course of Star Wars. After the fall of the second Death Star, the Empire was still around. It didn't just all disappear after that. But what ends up happening is that without the Emperor, it all kind of fractures, right? Yeah. Like, so everybody, all these different admirals and moffs and stuff start to say we are now the rightful ruler of the Empire. We are now the head. And if you have a Star Destroyer or two, you can make a pretty compelling argument on certain planets. But for the galaxy as a whole, it's rare. And Thrawn, at least in the expanded universe, was the one who came the closest to reuniting the Empire, which again is going to be, is that his goal? Is he to take him to reclaim the Empire with him at the head, or is Gideon, or is all this idea? Does he want to reestablish the Emperor? Because we also know in the books that Thrawn was pro-cloning, right? Like he used a clone of a Jedi Master called Saboth or Sabath.
There's a lot of different ways to pronounce his name.
That's the beautiful thing about it being in print. You really don't know. Right. But it was a clone. It was a failed clone, but he was a Force user. He was Force sensitive, and Thrawn used him as a pawn in one of his many machinations. And so what ends up happening is, so is he the one who's tasked Gideon and of course the facility on Navarro? Are they all in cahoots? Again, there's a couple different ways this can go. We might not get Thrawn this season.
I was thinking about that because remember they did hint towards Boba Fett last season, and we never saw that character again. Right. So I wouldn't until the first episode of this season. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Thrawn this season. I also wouldn't be surprised if we see him at the end of the season. Keeping in mind too, Boba Fett is still a huge question mark on this season. We've only seen him for about 3 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to come back or not, but I imagine they'll tease that again. And I do want to comment again on Rosario Dawson was just awesome as Ahsoka. A little quick movie trivia for you. So Rosario Dawson also starred with Christensen. What's his first name? Hayden Christensen in another movie called Shattered Glass.
Oh, that's
it was
right.
funny because they went to acting school together, and she had said at the time, I read this today, that it's so cool that she gets to play next to the guy that played Anakin Skywalker, and now she's literally playing Anakin Skywalker's apprentice.
Yeah.
Which is funny to me. Yeah. But that's the 7 waves of 7 Kevin Bacon or whatever it is. And
yeah, well, I mean, and there's even been rumors now. They're talking about. There's been again. This is just internet speculation, and honestly, I hope they don't go this route. They're talking about Hayden Christensen coming in for flashbacks. They're talking about Sebastian Stan playing a young Luke Skywalker, or the in-between Luke from Jedi and Force Awakens. And it's just kind of like, I really hope they don't go that way.
Yeah, just leave the Skywalkers out of it. It's just they don't need to be in it. In fact, Disney said they're done with the Skywalker saga. They said it. So I'm not saying I couldn't be convinced or wowed by something like that, but it just seems pretty dangerous, and they don't need it. I don't need that. And that speaks to the strength of the show. I don't need Luke. I don't mind if they mention the new Jedi Order or something. That makes sense, but
right. And even if they mention Anakin becoming Vader or something, you can talk about major historical beats. Well,
they did.
Fine.
They did in the last episode.
Right. So
yeah, but we'll see where it goes.
To have them actually come back, I think, would be a disservice to what they're
too
doing
much.
here.
We don't need it. We don't need it.
Right. But so let's get back on track. A couple of things to shout out about the episode. Very Kurosawa-esque. I also had some friends actually point out that was very, very actually Princess Mononoke in terms of some of its inspirations, specifically the evil magistrate played by Diana Lee Inosanto. She was, they compared her to Lady Eboshi from Princess Mononoke.
Right, it's fair.
So they said that there's obviously very heavy Eastern influence there, but it's also a mix of the West. There was a lot of gunfighter scenes. There was actually, I didn't even realize this until somebody said it, but I forgot Michael Ben, who we know better from, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but from Kyle Reese from the original Terminator films.
It's Kyle Reese,
was also in Tombstone. And the scene that he has with the Mandalorian at the end is very similar to what he says to Doc Holliday in Tombstone, where he's like, my quarrel isn't with you. I have no beef with you. He says something very similar to Mando. And so it's kind of funny that they basically harken back. His role in this is kind of like as a hired gun, but he's also in charge of 2 hunter-killer robots, which are very Terminator-like.
They are Terminator,
Then he has a duel with Mando at the end of the episode, which harkens back to Tombstone. So probably 2 of his biggest movies of his career, kind of paid homage to in his 5 minutes of screen time.
The pacing in this episode was excellent.
Yes,
it was a slower pace than some of the previous few episodes, but it was very perfectly paced. The other ones were fast and they could have been slower, but it felt right. This one felt right too.
Yeah, no, it was one of the longer episodes of the season, if not the longest, and it just but it worked. It was full of a ton of stuff, and again, it was very, very deliberate in everything it did. Everything from what ends up becoming Governor Wing at the end, the guy who takes over after they, of course, Ahsoka strikes down Morgan Elsbeth, the magistrate. Yeah. He was a guy who used to work for Disney. He was a Disney Imagineer. It's a lot of little hints and nods here all throughout to a lot of things that are both Disney and everything that's coming forward. There's a Lothcat, which, of course, again, another hint back to Ezra Bridger. Mirai, we believe that the owl we see very briefly on the planet is Mirai, which, of course, is the spirit of the daughter from I believe it was from Rebels, that kind of has bonded with Ahsoka. Right. There's a lot of super deep cuts here. You don't need to know them to appreciate the episode, but boy, does it help.
Yeah, they don't hold back on these.
Yeah, which again makes me think that, and the big plot point is we left off is that the quest continues. Ahsoka gives the Mando the task to go to Tyson, which of course is a planet, one of the original Jedi Temple, first introduced I think in Star Wars: The Old Republic, the video game, or at least the first time we saw it for sure. I think it's been mentioned before, but the first time we saw it was in the video game. And she said, "Bring Grogu to the temple there, and he will decide his fate." and he will
Right.
put him on the throne, and he will reach out. He will either choose to reach out across the cosmos with the Force, or he won't. And of course, if he does reach out, who will he reach out to?
Right, and we also talked about that there's still that transponder on the Razor Crest of Moff Gideon, so they might grab him before he even has a chance to get there, or as he's there. We don't know where it's going to go, and it's exciting.
I mean, a great thing, and again, this is just my speculation. We talked about this before. Grogu does decide to tap out through the Force, reaches out, but as he's reaching out, Moff Gideon's Star Destroyer shows up. But he had enough of a contact, and this I think would be a great way to introduce Bridger and Thrawn. Right. So I mean, there's a lot they can do here. What they're going to do, we don't know. We've got if you're listening to this on day one, we appreciate it as always. But we're about less than 24 hours away from finding out the next chapter of The Mandalorian. Absolutely terrific, though. Absolutely terrific. So, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it was fantastic all around. And now we do have some somber news from Star Wars.
Star Wars, yeah.
David Prowse, who, of course, was the body of Darth Vader. He was the man in the suit for almost all of the trilogy. The only times he wasn't, obviously, there was stunt doubles. And at the end, when he takes his helmet off, it's not him, it's someone else.
Yeah. During the lightsaber battles, it wasn't him, but everything else was. Right,
exactly, and he passed away at the age of 85 this past week, which is a very sad. I mean, and just obviously a giant amongst men. He was a terrific actor. He's also was a very well-known bodybuilder. A lot of people don't realize that. That's part of the reason why he was discovered and cast in this. Is again, he was a massive, and he wasn't Peter Mayhew big, but he was big.
6'5", something like that. Yeah, 6'6".
Yeah, exactly, and very well built. He actually trained Christopher Reeve to get in shape for Superman. A lot of folks don't know that. He also wrote several bodybuilding books and the like, and was very well known, especially, of course, in England where he was from. So, or the United Kingdom, I should say. But yeah, so. It's very sad. It's very, very sad to have found that out. But he lived a long and full life, and he's one with the Force now.
Yeah. No, listen, Mark Hamill gave him a wonderful tribute about that. He was known for more than just Star Wars. He was a great human being. And again, like you said, 85 years is a good life, and he'll be missed.
Yeah. So moving on now away from Star Wars and into another one of our favorite subjects here, of course, is video games. We talk about Star Wars on television. Something else to be coming to your television soon is Xbox. This was a very interesting story. Phil Spector, of course, the head of Xbox, was basically saying and talking about the future of Phil Spencer. My apologies, not Phil Spector, of course.
It's okay. It's a different person.
Yes, Phil Spector's a completely different person. Phil Spencer, of course, the head of Xbox, was basically saying that what they could possibly do within the next year is get apps for your TV to just download and stream your games, basically taking a page out of the Stadia's book. But of course, as is often in the games industry, the last thing you want to do is be the first to market with something, because typically somebody will learn from your mistakes and will do it better and will capitalize. We saw this with things like the 3DO, which was really the first disk drive in games, but Sony protected it with the PlayStation. This could be another thing where Stadia and Google might have been the ones to pioneer the idea of streaming your games live to your TV and whatnot without a system. But if Xbox improves on it with this app, that could be a huge, huge deal and could be something that also potentially breaks the back of someone like Sony as they find another way to just get their products to people. You can already play your Xbox on your phone now, folks. Microsoft pulling out all the stops to try and make sure that when you're playing games, you're playing their games.
Right. Everybody's commenting about how PlayStation's beating Xbox right now, and I just don't care. People are really freaking out about that. Xbox is going to be the winner in this fight. And I said, as you said, Ray, they're already doing this. This is not actually something that's new. You can already, the Razer Kishi allows you to play it on your phone now from anywhere as long as it's a Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah.
You don't even have to be in your house. A logical next step, right? And I think once people have the ease to do that, it's a no-brainer. It's just maybe not mainstream yet, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, this is a big step forward, and I think that this is going to be fascinating to see where they go from here. But I think that, again, Microsoft is being aggressive. They're buying up studios. They're putting a lot of money into advertising. Sony may have the early lead right now, which honestly isn't that much of a lead because you can't find any system anywhere.
It's just gossip right now, and like I do know that they've sold more, but it's because people are scalping these things like crazy. So like the numbers are not relevant. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry, they're not accurate, is what I should say.
Right, and that's the other thing is that I want to mention is that it actually leads us to our next story, which is despicable. But it's coming out now that hacker groups in the UK are taking credit for having set up buy bots to basically, as soon as new systems become available on Amazon or GameStop or Best Buy or take your pick of whatever store, that they're buying them up online immediately. And what's ended up happening is that this group has claimed they've scalped as many as 1,000 Xbox Series X and 3,500 PS5s. And we're already seeing this. We're actually seeing this on eBay, where sometimes people are paying thousands of dollars for these systems. Which, first off, folks, they're not worth thousands of dollars.
No,
they're
there's
worth
a scalping
exactly
market because people are buying them.
Yeah,
there's a scalpers market because people are paying for them. Stop buying them off scalpers, and they'll stop buying them too.
Right, exactly. And all you're doing is you're hurting everyone around you.
Yeah, you're enabling it.
Yeah, and if you want to waste all that money on a game console that will be probably readily available again in the spring, by the spring, if not the winter, or January, February, you go ahead. And I get it. Look, I get it. Your kid wants it. You want it. I want it.
I don't get it. And I mean, I do and I don't. I understand the power of a gaming system. Mm-hmm. I also understand the power of parenting.
Right.
And restrictions, and it's like, no, that's ridiculous to spend that much money on something like that when you already have a gaming system. That's what I would say.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And you can wait. You can wait like everybody else is going to wait.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying, right? Like, I understand the want for the systems.
Right. I get that too. But that's sometimes you don't get what you want.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
That's the way it is.
I'm waiting patiently, like everyone else, for Xbox Series X to hit store shelves again, and I'll pay my $500 for it.
It's despicable that. And I'm going to put some blame on the Microsoft and Sony and the retailers on this. They were not prepared for this. And they can say it's not their fault. They can't control that. And I don't agree. I think that they were not prepared for something that was obviously going to happen.
Yeah.
And it happened on such a scale that it's multiplying and there's copycats. So this has been a really, in my opinion, abysmal launch by both companies.
Agreed.
And I think that I don't think that the pandemic is really a good enough excuse for me anymore. I think that it was an opportunity in a weird way. And, I just think that they didn't, I'm sure they were trying, but they didn't answer the call. And like I said, this should have actually been the biggest unveiling of all time. Because people want these things, obviously. But they had to hit that holiday market, and it's turned into a mess. And like I said, I think a lot of people have accepted, like, I'm not going to see one of these till 21 now. And like, that's just the way it is.
That's how I am. I'm very fortunate. Again, one of my friends picked up an extra one, right? Like, PS4, and that they were able to pick it up for me for five. I gave him the $500. I was happy to, right? I was very fortunate to get a PS5. But PS5, I'm happy. I was ready. I was resigned. I was ready to wait. Like, I mean, I'm still playing most of my games on Xbox. Funny enough.
Right. It's like you said. It's nice to have it. You deserve it, right? Like, you're one of the people who deserves it. You had the money, you saved up for it. But look, parents. I mean, I know most parents are gonna agree with me. Like, you just don't always get what you want. I'm sorry. Like, that's a lesson that I have no problem teaching my son. He has to earn everything that he gets. And I'm sorry, but for $1,000 or more, there's things that are far more important. Yeah. Not even to my family. All right. Like, I'm hesitant to do that just to give money to charity. I mean that. All right. And like, we're charitable people here, obviously, but
right.
I don't know. I maybe I shouldn't judge anybody. I just think it teaches the wrong lesson, and you're enabling the people that are doing this. You're enabling them. Yeah. And like, it's going to happen again now. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like what Sony should be doing, and Microsoft. I'm an innovative thinker, is basically just make these available on their websites, and that's it. Yeah. Create the greatest firewall in history, and only sell on your website. You get full margin. You're gonna piss off every video game store and retailer in the world.
Yep.
But hey, man, it's your brand.
But and at the end of the and let's be honest, at the end of the day, video games aren't going to be in physical stores that much longer.
That's what I'm saying. And if you want to work with someone like Amazon, I get that. Make Amazon work for you. But like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know. People are making excuses for Microsoft and Sony, and I'm not. This was a failure on their part.
They've known about this for months. They knew this was the pandemic started in February.
Right. And like, unfortunately, it looks like that they don't care when they don't do anything about it because they don't care as long as they're getting bought.
Right.
So
they don't care that 3,500 or 1,000 are going to scalpers, and that's just one group, by the way, in the UK. That's just one
tens
report.
of thousands of these things that have been scalped. Right?
Easily, and especially here. Yeah, it's.
And we're not even talking about the people that say they have one and then don't. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, no, it's a real mess. Meanwhile, the only company that seems to be doing well right now is, in terms of at least in terms of PR, is Nintendo. Surprise, surprise! First off, they have an absolute smash hit game in Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. It's awesome. The highest-selling Muso or Warriors game in history. Koei Tecmo, the developer, is absolutely, of course, thrilled. It's easily their biggest hit. So they have that.
Let me tell you something real quick, Ray. Mm-hmm. The other day, my son came up to me. He goes, "Daddy." I go, "Yes, Logan." He goes, "I got the Sword of Time. I got the Master Sword." I go, "You got the Master Sword?" He goes, "I got the Master Sword." I said, "Do you understand the responsibility that comes with the Master Sword? Do you know what that sword can do? That will take you on an adventure, son. The past, the future, all over the place." He is obsessed with this game.
Yeah.
And because of that, my wife is obsessed with this game. They play it together all the time. I've played a total, are you ready for this, of 45 seconds. Yes. I started playing it. They grabbed it from me. I haven't played it since. I mean, I've obviously watched it. It looks great. But hey, Hyrule, what I love about Logan is that, like Janet and I just say, oh yeah, he's playing Zelda, right? But he comes up to me in the cutest accent every time. He goes, "Daddy, I'm playing Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity." Every time, the full title. not even just Hyrule Warriors, not Zelda, just Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. Yeah. This is the full name every time, and it's really funny to me. But look, I think about it. He's 6, going on 7. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was that age, and Legend of Zelda was everything to me at that time. Yeah. That game was everything, from the music to the just saving Hyrule. And I remember back then, and this is cool because you lose this a little bit as you get older, but I remember back then it really meaning something to go through Hyrule. You really didn't want to let anybody down. And like I can see that he's in the story. It's just really cool to see. I will cultivate him into a gaming superhero. Right? No, I'm just kidding. He'll be whatever he wants to be. But yeah, it's a great game. He got the Master Sword, Ray.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So they have that. Nintendo has that huge hit, but they also just announced something that's even bigger.
Much bigger.
They announced the release date, or the opening day, I should say, February 4th. Universal Studios Japan, Super Nintendo World is going to open in Japan on February 4th, which of course they have a much better handle on COVID, so they can do that.
I was just going to say that, lucky for them.
Yeah, no, exactly. But it opens February 4th, and people are already going nuts. Everybody, I've never seen if people were mad about the pandemic before, they were even more mad. They're like, I can't leave the country. I gotta go play. I gotta go to the Super Nintendo.
That's why they're opening it.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't. No Americans.
Yes.
We have to open now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what they did. Americans aren't coming. Who can come? Yeah, just Asia. We have to open it now.
No tourists. Perfect. Let's just have the locals for a while. It's
almost
like a soft launch.
Can you imagine the guy at Disney right now that was in charge of Galaxy's Edge and he opened it and now it's just like, I mean, if they're smart, they'll be updating it right now with the Mandalorian theme park. But it is awesome that they're opening this. Once again, Ray and I, episode 162, will be going there. Yeah. Be ready for that one. Put it on your calendars. It's 162. You do the math on that.
It's about a year and a half from now.
Yeah, we'll be there, and we'll be broadcasting, and then realize that our mics weren't on, and we won't care because we had a great time. Yeah, we're gonna be doing that AR Super Mario Kart ride. Excuse me, I'm the one coughing through Bowser's Castle. So that looks amazing. Yeah, it's just like, it's funny because it's like all these childhood things are coming out now, and like it's fun watching people like us just openly embrace it, like gotta do it. And then watching other people that are like our age and older, like, oh, it's for kids. we know you love it because if you're listening to the show, you're not one of those people. But like, it's just funny. Like, oh, it's not.
Yeah.
Whatever, man.
I can't wait. I've been to Japan once. I've only been to Tokyo, but I cannot wait to go to Osaka and to take part in this. To play, I will go there one day. I will go there. That is a goal. That is a goal now.
Totally.
I never understood, and this is actually an interesting question. This is a bonus question for you guys, because for me, Disney was good, right? Like, I grew up on Disney films like everyone else, right? Aladdin, Lion King, Cinderella, Mary Poppins, the whole 9 yards, right? But for me, video games were obviously my passion for them were the thing, was the number one thing, right? Like, right. So for me, I would argue, in my mind, Mario is just as big as Mickey Mouse.
I think that's fair.
At this point, for our generation,
in terms of recognition, I think that's fair.
And I think for the generation after us, especially for our kids, right?
Well, and keeping in mind, Ray, like Mickey has like 50 years on Mario, I think, or 40
and that's what
years,
I'm saying, right? Like, so I think for the next generation, Mario might be at that level.
Yeah, Disney has done a great job of keeping the mouse in the forefront, but I think Mario is a fair, like he's just as recognizable as Mickey. I mean, he is the most recognized video game character in the world.
Right.
So, I mean, I've never met anybody who didn't know who Mario was, so.
Right, exactly. And this is the thing that's what I'm trying to get to is like, I never understood folks who were like, oh, I'm going to go to Disneyland Paris. I'm going to go to Disneyland Tokyo.
Why?
Right.
Like, Paris. I mean, well, there's lots of stuff in Paris to see.
Well, yes.
All right? That's not Disney.
Yeah. But now, especially now that this is the only one, I want to go to Japan just, again, I've already been to Japan.
It's one of a kind, so that makes complete sense, though. Like,
yeah.
Look, Disney is an American thing.
Right.
Nintendo is not. So that's like, that makes complete sense. But like, the only time I saw people go to Disneyland Paris is when I lived in England, and like, you could take a lot of trips and you wanted to take your kids to Disneyland, and I kind of got it at that point. But like, if you go to Paris, don't go to the Louvre, the Eiffel Tower. I mean, any of their museums.
The Bastille,
go see the Champs-Élysées.
Yeah.
What's the river? The Rhine?
The Rhine,
no.
Yeah.
Is it the Rhine? I mean, if you go to Paris and don't see Paris, God, I sound like an elitist.
It's the Arc de Triomphe.
Yeah, like I sound like an elitist, but it's true. If you go there and you don't get a crepe, and you go to Disneyland, what the hell's wrong with you? Right? Like, I don't get that. Like, it's already kind of weird that people go to Disney World and Disneyland in the United States without seeing some of the country. But I get it. Like I said, guys, it's weird.
Yeah. So, 162, Lee promised. That's when we're going to Geeks Who Like Sports, episode 162.
Yes, at 162, it's going to be a fully paid trip. They're going to be like, oh, you guys have to come out.
Fingers crossed. That is the plan. That's the goal. That's the goal now. We put it in stone. We put it out there into the ether.
We all know when I put something in stone, it happens.
Yeah, pretty much. Usually. Usually.
It's true. I'm just saying.
And
if not, nobody will remember I said that. So, watch, one of our listeners is going to put it like, Siri, tell me in a year and a half to remind Lee and Ray that they said they'd be going to
Nintendo World.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Speaking of immersive video game worlds, though,
yes.
This brings us to our last geek subject of the day. Lee, like he mentioned, you read it in 4 days.
I did. I really did.
Ready Player 2, Ernest Cline's latest novel.
Right.
Lee, what? Give us the book review, my friend. What'd you think?
Right. So this will be a spoiler-free review because it is so close to the book coming out. Mm-hmm. A few things. One is, I think, like, no matter what I say here, I think the fact I read it in 4 days, and it is like 360-something pages, says a lot. Okay, Yeah.
So
I didn't have a problem putting it down. I mean, I didn't have a problem keeping it up. Is what I'm trying. That sounds really weird. I didn't have a problem reading it. Okay, so like obviously it was good enough to keep my attention. This is what I've been telling people, and then I'll tell you what some of the reviews I've seen and why I don't fully agree with them. The book starts out with a little bit of a convenient plot twist, and the book starts about a week after the first book ends. Keeping in mind, this is not the movie sequel, okay? That movie has a very different ending and very different pathway, okay? So it starts there, and there's a convenient twist, and I remember in the beginning thinking, that's kind of convenient. But as you read on, you realize that it's very well explained, okay? And then you don't even meet the primary villain probably until almost halfway through the book.
Oh, wow.
Which I thought was very, very, what's the word I want to say here? Ambitious in a good way. And it was a very good reveal. All right. And then the book moves on from there. The complaints that I'm seeing online, a lot of the complaints, and I was expecting this, I was like, it's not the first book. You know, it doesn't have all the 80s references as the first book. And I'm like, guys, you know, look, Ray and I are artists, writers, videographers. You have to challenge yourself a little bit. If he writes the same book again, you're going to give him hell for writing the same book again.
Yeah.
All right? And I can firmly say...
You can't please everybody.
No, and I can firmly say, that he expanded the characters. He expanded the world and the characters in an ambitious way that I can understand why some people might not like it. Really, I can say that. But it was definitely a pathway forward, okay? I will tell you this. He's receiving a lot of flack for appeasing... Well, I shouldn't say that. That's how the people are saying it. I am not saying that. But there's complaints that he has been appeasing the gender community in the book, which I think is a crock of you-know-what.
Yeah.
I had no problem that he lightly dove into that. I think it made sense in the way the story went. I think if you know the geek community, like Ray and I do, that's not something you can ignore.
Yeah.
All right? And I don't think that he did it tastelessly, and I don't think it was in my face maybe 2 times in the book. But it didn't bother me. It shouldn't bother you. And I will tell you that I really enjoyed the ending of the book. A lot of times you don't stick the endings on these books.
Yeah.
And I thought the ending, I felt really good when I read it. And it leaves the story in a nice place, right? And it does leave it open. If they wanted to have a third book, they could, but they definitely don't need to. Mm-hmm. I think it's a very hopeful ending. But overall, like I said, I keep telling myself this. You know, there were some chapters that I was kind of like, I kind of want to get through this because maybe I didn't relate to the pop culture in it or other things. But I read it in 4 days. That tells you everything you need to know. And like I said, it expands on the story. It's not the first story again. And I'm trying to say that you shouldn't expect that ever. Like,
yeah.
Okay. And again, I'm not trying to be hypocritical. Like people will say, well, that's what The Last Jedi did. And you hated The Last Jedi. That's very different to me. Okay. I didn't feel like they expanded it. I felt like they challenged me and I didn't need that. Right. There's a difference between expanding and challenging. And I felt like the Last Jedi, excuse me, I felt like that was just a middle finger to Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand it. Like, not to go back into Star Wars, Ray, but like the act of Luke throwing the lightsaber over his shoulder.
Yeah.
Was, not to be dramatic, but that was hurtful. I don't know how else to say it. You know what I mean? And then in The Rise of Skywalker, when he actually has the lightsaber, catches it and says, a Jedi's weapon should be honored with more respect.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
Right.
But overall, if you liked Ready Player One, if you like Ernest Cline, if you read Armada, his other book, you should pick it up. You should read it. I think you will enjoy it. It's not as good as the first one. I'm not going to lie about that. If the first one got a 5, I would give this a good solid 4, which I think that's what you should expect from a second book.
5 out of 5, you're saying?
Yeah, the first one had a 5 out of 5, and it did. That book was unbelievable. I'd give this one a solid 4. Was not as good as the first, but easy to read, fun to read. People are like, well, there's not as much pop culture in this. I'm like, well, guys, what do you want?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
we're surrounded by pop culture.
Like he expanded the characters. Like, you know, people forget that Parzival, Wade Watts, like, again, people remember the movie. Like, Wade Watts is an incredibly flawed character. Incredibly flawed. Yeah. And in the movie, he's Disney-fied. I mean, he's flawed in the movie, but, like, you know, he's very uppity. You know, Wade Watts in the book is not uppity. He's flawed. He's screwed up.
Yeah.
And people were shocked he's still screwed up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, come on. I mean, and he grows in this book.
Yeah.
Like, so I loved it. But pick it up. If you haven't picked it up, pick it up. Or just read the Wikipedia notes and you'll know what happened.
Well, there you go. There's Lee's review, 4 out of 5.
Hold on, wait, let me just grab it. I gotta do it. Hold on.
Okay, we gotta get a prop. Doesn't have his prop ready.
Valentine books available now wherever books are sold. Yeah. That shows you how thick it is. I read that whole thing in 4 days.
Wow, that is a sizable book.
It's bigger than the first book. It is 300. Oh my, come on, let's go. 360. Hold on, 66 pages.
It's a solid read.
It really was. And again, it's longer than the first book. The only thing I didn't like about it, but I understand, is the back. I was looking for praise, and this is all praise for Ready Player One. And I'm like, I read all these already.
Right, yeah.
Ready Player 2, available now. Must read if you're a geek. I'll put it that way.
There you go. So there's the final review from Lee. 4 out of 5. And that brings us into... That does it for the geek section this week, folks. A little bit of a little bit quicker section this week.
Speaking of second players...
Yes. Second players. How about, second players, third players, fourth players, or in the case of Denver, no players.
No players.
In the case of at least their quarterback situation. Folks, we may have praised the NFL. I think I might have praised the NFL a couple weeks ago.
We both did. What we said, Ray, was that they're on the brink. Yeah. We said they're on the brink of us having discussions about the integrity of the season coming into question. That's what we said.
And now we are at the point of questioning the integrity of the season. And in fact, actually the NFL, through Adam Schefter of ESPN, basically said, at this point, we're less concerned about the integrity and more concerned about just finishing all the games. And that says it all, folks, because to me, look, I don't think Denver was going to beat New Orleans anyway, but the fact that they had to bring up their wide receiver who played 3 games at Wake Forest at quarterback for them because they couldn't sign somebody because of COVID protocols and because of everybody in the quarterback room one guy got COVID and because all the others were exposed to him. And again, by the way, not wearing masks, not following the rules. I will say at least the NFL is doing a good job of penalizing teams, including the aforementioned Saints, who now have to forfeit their 7th-round pick because they've twice now broken the rules. And I'm sure Denver, first it's a fine, second you lose a draft pick plus a fine. So Denver, I'm sure, also will get a fine at some point for this. But by the way, only the Seattle Seahawks, the only team in the NFL that have perfectly followed the COVID regulations and have not gotten COVID.
And they deserve a tremendous amount of credit for that.
Yes.
That Pete Carroll has that team pumping in the right direction.
Yes.
I will have comments for them later. I will say about Denver that they were pretty classy about this. They did tweet after the game.
Yeah.
It said something like, there was a game, there was a score, but, we can't thank this guy enough for playing quarterback. Out of nowhere. That's not an easy ask. I did joke with Ray, because these rosters looked like Madden rosters. Like, I didn't recognize anyone on these rosters, which was amazing. But that's the NFL in 2020. And I'm hearing a lot of people, and Ray, I wanted you to discuss this. They're allowing the Ravens to move on to another night, now scheduled for Tuesday.
Or
but
Wednesday.
They didn't do that for Wednesday. Sorry, but
the only reason why we're not talking about Baltimore and Pittsburgh, folks, is because the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game from Thanksgiving was delayed till Sunday because of their outbreak, then delayed till Monday, now delayed till Wednesday. So when you listen to this, it will be after the game. But the game, while we're recording this on a Tuesday, December 1st, it's moved to Wednesday, December 2nd at 3:40 in the afternoon. Why is it an afternoon game in the middle of the week? Because NBC has that game, and they basically told the NFL, there's no way we're going to supersede the Christmas tree lighting, which, by the way, if you've seen it, is the most pathetic Christmas tree that Rockefeller Center has ever had.
Yeah, it looks like 2020.
It's a personification of 2020. But even NBC was like, you are the guys who messed this up, so you're not messing with our broadcast schedule. So I will say this. If you're a fan of Kelly Clarkson's talk show, folks, I'm sorry, you're not going to see that. You're going to see Ravens versus Steelers. But other than that, the Christmas tree lighting preceded that. This is the only time I think the NFL has ever bent to the whim of the television stations. Usually it's the other way around.
Well, they had the TV has. I mean, that's something people are going to want to watch this year. Tree lighting, to be fair, but look, I'd say the integrity of the league is buckling at this point.
Yes.
Ray and I had spoken off the air. I thought this was a pretty good idea. Obviously, let us know what you think, but it's a little bit surprising to Ray and I that the NFL didn't plan some flex weeks at the end of the season. Yeah. Maybe 2 or 3 extra weeks that were flex weeks, meaning if they needed them, they use them. If they don't need them, they don't use them. Yeah. Where they could just replace games, like a week 19, a week 20. Yeah. Where you could just throw games in, and people would say, well, other teams would have bye weeks. And say, well, I think that's better than what's happening now. I mean, look, if you told me that, a team would get an extra bye week, but another team wouldn't have to play without a quarterback, I might be like, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Right? Or, what we have to do, Ray, is look up how many games have been rescheduled and see if this was even possible. Because the other argument would be that what happens if multiple teams have multiple problems, and I don't know. It seems like there was a little bit of lack of forethought here. I will say this: the integrity's still there, but it's buckling. All right, and if this had happened to another team, Kansas City, the Ravens, in terms of what just happened to Denver.
Well, I mean, and here's the thing. Here's the thing with the Ravens situation. I will say, at least in this regard, I do understand where the league came from. The reason
it wasn't their fault.
The reason why the league keeps delaying the Ravens game is because unlike Denver, because of contact tracing, because Denver did adhere by, at least the upper brass adhered by the rules, and as soon as they found out that the one quarterback had it, they contract traced, they locked it down.
Right.
Baltimore's spread started because a strength and conditioning coach, which, by the way, it makes me sick this guy hasn't been fired yet. Okay, Basically, a strength and conditioning coach got rid of the tracer or the tracker that he had, because much like the NBA players all had to wear those watches, a lot of NFL players and coaches now have to wear something similar. He got rid of it, and he went out, partied, whatever, did his thing, and then he got sick, and he brought it back to the team. And now the problem is that because he didn't have his tracker, they don't know how many people he's been in contact with. And now, as it's spread from the running backs to the quarterbacks to the receiver room, the entire Raven organization is a threat. So they can't risk. It's one thing not to have like 4 guys sit. Unfortunately, it had to be all the quarterbacks for Denver. It's literally all 53 guys in Baltimore are at risk right now, which is why they had to be delayed, and they didn't want to force them to forfeit.
This is what I'm going to say. We are never going to learn in this country a balance for this. We're just not. Yeah. I kind of accepted that, and I don't care what side of the aisle you're on with coronavirus. It's just true. We're not gonna find some common ground. It's just not happening. I think it's pretty obvious what it is, but I think there's some states and mayors that are going way too far, and I think there's some that are not going far enough. I think there's pretty obvious middle ground, but I think what is bugging me is anyone who just thinks that they're just above this thing. And that bothers me on a human level because it's just not about you. And the other thing, too, is we talked about this. If only there were leagues that had set a good example about how to do this. And we talked about this, Ray. I said before the NFL season started that the NFL will take the approach of, well, we're not the MLB. We won't mess up like that. Yeah. And then I can see someone going to Goodell. He's like, well, the NHL did a really good job and the NBA did a really good job. I'm not going to be compared to those leagues. Yeah. We're the NFL, and it's just, it is what it is. Should also say that, I'm sorry, let me not say that now. I do want to talk about the NHL and the NBA briefly after the football segment.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But yeah, no, it was a, I mean, again, like you said, this strength and conditioning coach, whoever it was, you literally put your entire organization at risk. And the fact that he's been reprimanded, but it still has a position with the team, that's not enough. That's not enough. The league should step in and force him to be fired, and he shouldn't be allowed to be in professional football anymore.
Or suspended for a year. I mean, that usually gets you fired.
Well, I mean that's the thing. Also, speaking of strength and conditioning coaches, by the way, there's a PED breakout in Houston, so their strength and conditioning coach might be fired soon. Former, I think, Falcon Brian Cushing, but so
NFL, you're not invincible. Wake up.
Yeah. 2 Texans were suspended today for 6 games, including
I hope the league has called Seattle and been like, "What are you doing?" And let's tell the other teams. And Seattle's just like, "We're just doing what you said."
Yeah, we have a culture of guys who care. Like, what do you want? Like, and again, as much as I don't like Pete Carroll as a play caller,
I don't either.
Run the ball on the goal line. Run the ball.
Beast mode.
Beast mode. Yeah. He clearly commands the respect of his players.
Yeah. Well, I hope they win. I hope they win the Super Bowl the way they're going. I mean that.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't mind them. Definitely not the Steelers. I hate the Steelers. But credit where it's due. Steelers are undefeated right now. But also now messing up the schedule. Now next week, Baltimore versus Dallas will be Tuesday night, and Washington versus Pittsburgh has been moved to Monday, giving Pittsburgh and Baltimore respectively 5 and 6 days off, as if they were playing games on short weeks.
Can you imagine if Washington beats Pittsburgh and ruins their undefeated streak and then is in first place in the NFC East?
You know what? At that point, I'd give Washington credit.
Right, Ray. Who's first place in the NFC East right now?
The G-Man.
Oh God, I should have seen that coming.
The G-Man. Scott Van Pelt did it last night on SportsCenter. The G-Man.
It still hurts. Stop.
The 4-7 New York Giants, which, by the way, now we don't have a quarterback.
That's right. Jones is hurt.
Daniel Jones hurt his hamstring because he's a moron and doesn't know how to run. Again, and this is a fact, folks. He doesn't know how to run. He trips over his own 2 feet against the Eagles, and he kind of slid funny against the Bengals, and he tweaked his hamstring, and he's going to miss at least 1, possibly 2, or even 3 games.
It's amazing.
And as much as I don't like him, I really don't know what to expect from Colt McCoy, our backup.
I remember Colt McCoy in college. It's going to be interesting. It's one of those you step up to the
Cleveland.
plate. Yeah, me too. He's either going to step up to the plate or he's not.
Yeah.
He's got to be getting older, man. Like I remember him in like 2006 being in college.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, Colt, I'll look it up real quick, but yeah, I mean, look, Colt
yeah,
McCoy's not a terrible backup, but he's 34.
Wow. Okay. Well, look, this is what I'll say. When you look at the NFC East, suddenly, when we spoke about this happening, suddenly Washington and the Giants are vying for first place. The Eagles dropped another game to the Seahawks. With the Eagles, this is the painful truth, is they really do work hard. That's why I have a hard time ripping them so much, like some of the fans of Philly but they're just not that good. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
They're just not that good.
Wentz is trying to do too much, but that offensive
he really is.
line...
He's going to get hurt again. He's going to get hurt again if he keeps this up.
I saw it a couple times last night. Like my one friend, I was talking to my friend, a friend of mine who's a Seahawks fan. He's like, man, it looks like Wentz is running for his life on that scramble. And I'm like, yeah, he probably was.
He's not sliding either. He's taking tackles. And, that's not something you want to see. Well, maybe Eagles fans want to see that, but they're trying. They really are, but they're just not that good. It's tough because everybody's turning on the organization now, and Howie Roseman's horrible. My guy brought us a Super Bowl. He might not be good anymore, but you can't take that away. I'm not one of these people that just throws people in the dirt. I don't have a problem with them moving on, but I don't throw them in the dirt. You know what I mean? NFC East is horrible, and I look forward to, with bated breath, to see who's going to win that division.
Yeah, I said it a few weeks ago, and I'll say it again. 1st to 6 wins.
Yeah.
I think that the winner of the division will be 6-10. It'll be the worst team to win a division in football history.
Or 6-9-1.
Or 6-9-1. Yes, that is true. Again, 1st to 6, Washington and the Giants are the closest with 4-7 records. The Giants have the tiebreakers because 2 of those wins were against Washington. As Lee is now, he's not choking because he's sick. Now he's choking just because of the team.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah. Look, none of these teams have an easy schedule down the stretch except for the games they play against each other. That's the only games you look like you win. The Giants play Cleveland, the Cardinals, and the Seahawks in their next 3 games, and then they finish the season against Dallas. There's one other game. Oh, against Baltimore. The Giants play Baltimore.
Yeah, we have the Skins.
Yeah, and you guys.
Washington. Oh my goodness, we have the Washington football team.
I had to try to explain to somebody on Twitch yesterday.
I'm sorry about that.
Why the old Washington logo was racist.
Listen, I always tell people, because I know people go back and forth on this. This is how I say it, and this is actually a good gauge for most of these logos that come into question. Mm-hmm. Would you allow a team called the Black Skins or the White Skins in the league?
The Crackers or something.
Yeah, that would not fly. Now, with that said, when you look at North Dakota, the Fighting Sioux, that was a mistake. Yeah. In fact, a documentary, for those of you who care about this stuff, was just released about UND, and it was basically documenting all the indigenous people in that area and the former Sioux, or the people of Sioux Nation, that were like, this was just a political move. We didn't want this to be taken away. In fact, the logo was created by someone from that reservation.
Yeah, who took great pride in that. Yeah,
right. It just goes to show you that there's a lot of politics behind this stuff, but the Redskins name was horrendous, and I'm glad it's gone.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, you even go back to the history. That was specifically... It was done as a racist thing. Like, it was done... When the original founder of Washington made that, he did that as a knock because he hated indigenous people. Like, that's why that name is bad. The Blackhawks, the Fighting Sioux... That's different. You're paying tribute to tribes.
We've said this 100 times. Whenever you have to go with these names, it is a case-by-case basis.
Yep.
And every case is different. We said this even about Cleveland with their logo. Chief, what's his name?
Wahoo.
Yeah, like that was incredibly insensitive, and that's why they changed it. But the name Indians is not bad. So again, it's case by case.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, right? But pretty much generally around the nation, the indigenous people, the indigenous tribes, pretty much agree that Washington's logo was racist.
Yes, and so do I.
Yeah, so that needed to be taken care of, and it was, at least for the time being. I mean, it will be. I have no idea what they're going to call them going forward, but we will see. A couple other stories around the league. The 49ers, speaking of coronavirus and integrity, the next 2 home games for San Francisco will be played in Arizona because Santa Clara County, which holds San Jose, and that's where the Niners play, even though they're from they're called San Francisco, they play closer to San Jose at this point. They're like no contact sports for the next 3 weeks, and the Niners are like,
great.
What do we do?
Yeah.
So they're going to go play in Arizona while the Cardinals are on the road.
It's just amazing, isn't it? That's what I was saying about different states, different cities and stuff. It's just we can't come to a middle ground on anything.
No, it's ridiculous and it's terrible. Also, really quickly, I'm very happy this happened. I'll say this: I'm happy he missed most of his kicks on Sunday because he's not a good person. Former New York Giant Aldrich Rosas is back in the league. He signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Aldrich Rosas with Cup of the Giants after. I guess good for him. His hit and run charges were dropped to 3 misdemeanors. Driving drunk and hit and ran and I think almost killed somebody, actually. He's a jerk, but hey, have fun in Jacksonville, you jackass. Anyway, so that does it for football. Nothing but terrible stories all around. Good job, NFL.
Yep. It's buckling.
Yep. Lee, you wanted to talk about, we got some hockey and some basketball news. I heard the NBA is supposed to start December 22nd, and NHL is at some
well, the NBA's set. The NBA's set to go. It sounds like they're ready to go, and it sounds like they have a good plan to go. NHL, as predicted, CBA problems with money because they need revenues to drop this year. I'm sorry, they need payouts to drop this year because of the revenues.
Right.
NHLPA is not taking it, which is a mistake in my mind. I'm going to side with the league here. There are no fans in the building.
Yeah.
You have to concede that this is not about you getting what you're worth. It's about the preservation of hockey. Yeah. I have to say it. I know a lot of people like to side with the players in these things. I can't. All right. You won't have hockey. So I hope they come to a conclusion that gets the game up going January 1st. I think it'll be devastating to hockey fans if they can't figure this out, because no one will be sympathetic to them this time. No. Nobody, all right, in the current state of the world. I want hockey back. I miss hockey. I was willing to, well, I shouldn't say it like that. I mean, the wait till January 1 made sense.
Yeah.
If they can't start January 1 because they can't figure out the money side of it, I don't know what to say.
The league has done a great job since the last major strike in 2004 about rebuilding its reputation and rebuilding its fan base, and this could be a killer. This could be a killer. There was
the 2005 lockout. We lost a full season.
Right, 2005. My apologies. 2005.
No, it's okay. It's okay. And I believe it was 13. There was a half season lockout.
There was a half season.
All right.
Yeah.
And since then they've been great. But the 2005 lockout was horrible. The players held out got nothing.
Yeah.
The 13 lockout made a little more sense. They came in the middle, and that was more on safety measures.
Right.
I don't know what to say. If the players union doesn't get this, I don't know what to say. Get it together and get hockey back on the TV. It's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, it's you got to understand, folks. I was arguing with folks on Twitter the other day, like people were fighting for all the athletes, and they're like, what about the broadcasters and the editors and the producers? And I'm like, and what about the grocer? And what about the restaurant owner?
Yeah.
And what about the barber and the bar? And like,
we are fortunate to have sports.
Yes.
Fortunate. This is absolutely a privilege right now, not a right.
Yeah, no. So it's about perspective, and like Lee, like you said, it's about coming together. And unfortunately, even with this, we just can't for some reason. It just and it's heartbreaking. But you know what? Actually, I'm genuinely shocked. One sport that's doing right by people, or trying to, at least this offseason, baseball. Baseball, this is a fascinating story, announced the creation of a new minor league. We'll be playing for a half season from about March until the All-Star break, and it's specifically for college prospects. It's a chance for them to show off their skills, but also to learn how to use a wood bat, because a lot of folks don't realize a lot of college players you can still use aluminum bats.
Ping.
In
Ping.
baseball.
Ping.
So it's a chance for them before the draft, which has now been pushed back to the All-Star break, which I think is a great idea, instead of doing it in the middle of June for some reason.
Yeah, when nobody cares. Yeah.
Right. When you have all those days off after the All-Star game, do the draft after the All-Star game. So you're doing this league specifically for college prospects, and also the cities that are being awarded teams were cities that lost their teams after the closure of the minor league seasons this past year because of COVID. So the first few teams that are being looked at are cities that have lost minor league teams because of financial problems. So good on baseball. I think this is actually a good idea, and I think that getting the minor leagues back in any shape or form is smart, and I think it's a good transition for kids coming out of college or looking to come out of college early.
Yeah, I'm not going to give Major League Baseball credit, but I'll give baseball credit.
Right.
Major League Baseball has done nothing for me. I'm still pissed off. I'm glad the college kids will get a chance. It's really important.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything wrong, but the MLB sucks, and I'm still pissed off at them. I had some people say that, the season was great. It was fine. I put a little poll up about, was the integrity kept this season? I had people saying yes. And I was like, what? And they're big baseball fans. They were the people who said yes were really big baseball fans.
Yeah.
And I was like, give me a break. It was horrible. That was horrible. So anyway, yes, happy for the college kids. I mean that. I do mean that.
No, yeah. The overall, this is a good story, but yes, I also agree that we agreed that obviously baseball's integrity was shot this year, literally from start to finish. From the Marlins to Justin Turner in the Game 6 of the World Series. Literally messed up every step of the way.
Horrible.
Yeah. Speaking of mess-ups, Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr.
Yeah, that wasn't a mess-up. That was a good fight.
It was a good fight, but the decision was messed up, in my opinion, because everybody I've talked to and every analyst I've seen, every highlight I've seen, said Tyson kicked the crap out of Jones, and the fact that this match was called a draw really drew the ire of a lot of folks, except for the bookies at Vegas, because everybody was picking one or the other to win, and nobody picked the draw as the outcome.
This is Mike Tyson, and we're shocked that there's weird decisions.
Yeah, I know.
I know he landed a lot more punches.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. The winner of a boxing match, if you're a fan of the sport, is important, but it's not the be-all, end-all. The match is. And it was a good match. And, this wasn't for a heavyweight championship or anything like that.
Although they were both given mock belts afterwards.
Right.
As a nice tribute.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. That was probably planned. Yeah. And, did you enjoy the boxing? I'll tell you what. I enjoyed that match infinitely more than the other match.
Yeah, we're going to get into that real quick. Also, Tyson said he'd be happy to do it again, whereas Roy Jones Jr. has had no comment.
I don't think Roy Jones is coming back. I give Tyson a lot of credit for getting in such great shape. He was really overweight just a few years back.
Yeah, I mean, Tyson really took this seriously. He was ready to go. He impressive for 54. I think he's 54.
Yeah, he's up there.
Yeah, but the other fight, Jake Paul,
it's despicable.
Gen Z scumbag Jake Paul. Best way to describe him: internet sensation and
YouTuber.
And the worst kind.
He really is. Him and his brother.
Yeah, it took on Nate Robinson, formerly of the New York Knicks, and as many people were saying on the internet, the Knicks are already 0-1. Nate Robinson, or as they're saying now, Nate, as in he went night. In the second round. I'll give Paul this much. The dude trained. The dude took the fight seriously.
He did. He was a boxer. I'll give him that. It's the fact that before we get into the decision, the problem with that I have with him is it's pick one.
Right.
You're either a serious boxer or you're not.
Right.
All right, and that's kind of to be fair to him, I guess he is trying to become a serious boxer, but he's doing it in the worst way. And Nate Robinson just. Oh my God!
Nate Robinson clearly did not take this seriously.
Yeah, I mean, did you train? What was that?
No.
It is horrible. You know what I mean?
He just thought he thought it was going to be some kind of shenanigans or I don't know, but this is not like the All-Star Game slam dunk contest, Nate, which you did excel at. But
got knocked the hell out.
Paul knocked him down, and honestly, the ref should have stopped the fight after the first knockdown because Nate looked like his eyes were all glassy. Came back, and I think he was like the very next punch. Paul just absolutely clocked him.
Yeah,
and
right
as you're seeing the meme go around the internet, Nate dropped like Apollo Creed and Rocky
exactly
IV.
like Apollo Creed.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, if I was Nate, I'd say that was the worst possible outcome because he is now forever going to be a meme.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah, nobody's gonna remember you for dunking over Dwight Howard on the slam dunk contest. Nobody's gonna remember what you did as a Knick, hitting some game-winning threes.
Here's what I will say is that the only thing that was good about that is everybody missed Jake Paul doing the Muhammad Ali like pound on the chest, which is a complete it's a complete disrespect to Muhammad Ali, but nobody picked up on that.
What else? Yeah,
the Paul brothers are. I don't get them. If someone out there loves them, tell me what it is. I think they're horrible people. I think they've contributed to society in a very negative way.
Yep.
And I do not understand what their value is whatsoever out of just making gluttonous, stupid, one behavior more and more mainstream. Just they contribute nothing. They're like Cardi B, nothing.
Cardi B, again, Kim Kardashian, just...
there's the thing. Kim Kardashian's actually done some stuff now where you can say, wow, she's really helped people.
Turned her fame into something, yeah.
Right, you know what I mean? Not for a long time, but, here's the thing is, when I look at some of these people, it's like, what is your contribution to society? And, don't get me wrong, you don't have to have one, but, when you have that much spotlight, Joe Rogan's a great example. That guy really pursues knowledge and...
Yeah.
The guy's show is really good. I just don't understand these brothers. And I know they don't care about that. That's fine too. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Yeah, whether you like Joe Rogan or not, Joe at least tries to
expand your mind, man. Yeah,
tries to give you a different perspective on things.
I will say this, Paul's brother was Aaron Paul?
Logan Paul.
Logan Paul, sorry. He did one of the most despicable things of all time on YouTube and showing a dead body.
Yeah.
And in the process, destroyed millions of creator careers in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And he didn't care.
No. Because he already made his. He already got his. And that's
right.
the problem with a lot of folks in society nowadays anyway. It's all about me.
Right. I don't get it. And I do hope that we turn it around.
Yeah.
Like I said.
Not to get preachy here, folks, but...
No, I'm getting preachy. All right. I know we speak about Geeked and Sportsdom, but we do speak our mind. We do try and make people feel better, and I don't know. Anyway, these idiots.
You know what would make me feel better? Either him accepting Robin Leonard or Evander Kane's challenge, and one of them knocking them out. Both Robin Leonard and Evander Kane have challenged Paul now to boxing matches from the NHL. So we'll see.
I'll tell you this. I did see that, and I'll tell you this. That's how you know he's not a real boxer right now. Because he called out Conor McGregor after the fight, who he's not going to get a fight with.
No.
And the people coming back to him are other athletes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it just tells you, you're a joke at this point. And I'll say this too. I don't think you want to be a joke.
No.
Okay, Jake Paul, I don't think you want to be a joke. So you need to make a decision. You're either a serious boxer, which means you're going to have to start from the bottom and move your way up to the probably welterweight championship.
Yeah.
Or move aside. Because this is one of the worst boxing cards of all time. If you really think about it. No championship bouts. You had a social media battle, and you had two old boxers that, don't get me wrong, I didn't have a problem with because I think it was a cool thing.
Right.
All right? Boxing's come a long, long way down from its heyday.
Yeah, I mean, we're old enough to remember Tyson.
Oh, God, he was so dominant.
To me, boxing really hasn't been relevant since Tyson Holyfield.
Well, I'm going to tell this to our younger audience because I know our older audience knows this. He was the most dominant boxer in history.
Yeah.
Nobody punched harder than Mike Tyson. And it is worth you going, even if you saw him, it's worth going online, just searching YouTube, like Mike Tyson's best knockouts, and just watching it, the power. That uppercut. I mean, it's deadly. It was deadly. It's amazing he didn't kill anybody. I really mean that.
It's true.
All right. I would like to see Mike Tyson fight Jake Paul.
And
How's that for an idea?
That would be interesting. That would be really interesting, actually.
Now, I gotta say this too. It's just about Mike Tyson, and this on a positive note. Talk about a guy who's come full circle.
Yeah.
The guy had a lot of mental issues.
Yeah.
And instabilities. Lost his way for a long time. Spent some time in prison.
Yeah.
And he earned it. all right? And he's completely come back around and found peace in his life. And I think that the real win, this is why I said the decision didn't bother me too much. The fact that he boxed again, if you follow his life the last 20 years, I'm not sure this is something he ever thought he'd do again.
Yeah.
All right. And he was very clear that, this boxing was not, it didn't bring the version of him out that he wanted. So I think this was like a personal thing for him of like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, like closure, but I think it's also, I want to prove to myself that I can do this and not lose my mind.
Yeah.
Right. And then even during the fight, it's funny when they asked him, like, they were asking Jones about, like, how come nobody cares about my ass? Because everybody was picking Tyson to win this thing. He's like, nobody cares about me. Like, he was having fun with it.
Yeah.
But I think there was a bigger victory in that fight than just the scorecard. And I am a fan of Mike Tyson. I am all about redemption. This guy has really turned his life around, and I think that is the biggest win. All right. We were lucky to have him. It was a privilege to have Mike Tyson around. I mean that. And still.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, Ray, probably most people under the age of 25 only know him from the Hangover movies.
Yeah. And the Mike Tyson mysteries on Adult Swim and stuff.
Right.
Like,
I'd say 30. It's probably not even 25. I mean, he stopped boxing in the mid-90s, right?
Well, really, after Evander the fight with Holyfield, which was, 97?
Yeah, that's not the last image of him you want, right?
Right.
But, like, think about that. I mean, like, you've probably only seen him in movies and heard of him. Maybe a video game here or there. Yeah. But, good. I just want to say that. Good for Mike Tyson. I think it's a real triumph for him as a human being. And I think that story was missed. And I think that it's a shame, and I hope that comes out later.
Yeah, no, for sure. So that does it for our sports section for today. We move on
Shorter
down
episode
to
today. Yeah. Shorter episode today. That's okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're not feeling well. You got to go Nate.
Appreciate it.
So
got to go Nate. Lily, Nate. Wait,
That's it. There we go.
I appreciate it. Let's keep going.
No, for sure. We're down to our favorite section, of course, our mashup or question of the week. And this week is an interesting one. We talked about, of course, the Super Nintendo World at Universal Japan. What theme park, if you could make a theme park about something, whether it's sports or geekdom or whatever, what theme park would you create? Lee, you, as always, the mastermind of these amazing questions. Would you like to kick us off?
I will. I have a story and I have an answer.
Okay.
The story is this. My wife and I, back in 2000 and, before 2010, sometime 2006, probably going to guess, sometime around then, we went to Florida, and we went to Disney World, and we went to Universal Studios, Florida. And there was only one ride, Ray, that I wanted to go on. Now, we went on a lot of the rides, but there was one ride above all of them that I wanted to go on. It was the Back to the Future ride. We went to Disney the first day, did all of Disney in one day, by the way, which was incredibly painful. We went to Universal, and I almost ran. I was like, I'm going to get on the Back to the Future ride. My whole life is up to this. I'm in my mid-20s. Closed the week before I got there. And then to gut punch it even worse, it was the Simpsons ride was coming, which is like, I can't be mad at the Simpsons.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I will say that the happy ending to this is thank God for YouTube, because I was able to see the ride and experience the ride on YouTube, which is really all I wanted was the story.
Right.
And I was able to experience that. So happy ending there. For the actual theme park, I'll make this the true mashup. Okay. You don't have to, but I'm going to make this a true mashup. There was a great commercial probably 10 years ago. It was called the Michael Vick Experience. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Okay. This is going to kind of go across all sports, but in short, this commercial was great. It was like a theme park, and this guy jumps into this kind of like theme park roller coaster.
Yeah,
thing.
Like it looked like a Batman the Ride harness from Six Flags.
You got to check this out. Actually, I'm sure Caitlin will put this in the video thing on the side. I'll send it to you, Caitlin. Don't worry. And you strap and the lights go on, and you're on a football field, and you're Michael Vick, and it's all about him doing a QB run to the end zone.
Yeah.
And at the end, the guy's screaming, he's screaming with the football. And at the end, he gets hit, and he flips over and lands in the end zone. And it's a touchdown. And then a virtual Michael Vick shows up. I can't even remember if it was Gatorade and Nike or something. I don't know.
Right.
Now, I know what it's like to play hockey at a high level. But I would say all four major sports deserve some sort of virtual reality experience like that. I would love to be able to be a running back. All right. I would love to be able to be Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to be Mark McGuire breaking the home run record.
Yeah.
Without steroids. I'd love to be, Jordan for a moment. Like, think about that, just launching off the foul line for a dunk.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know how they do it. It's funny because I read Ready Player 2 and the Oasis, you could just be them.
Yeah.
Right? But that's my answer. I think, specifically a football, like that Michael Vick experience, I've always wanted to actually be on that ride. Again, we'll show it on this video. It'll be here silently on the left.
Yeah, no, that's a great commercial. I completely forgot about that until you mentioned it. Absolutely terrific. For me, I mean, there's so much you can do now with virtual reality that would be so cool and so fun. Like, similar to you, I'd actually like to be a goalie. Right. Trying to stop somebody on a breakaway or something. And I'm sure we're going to get there with virtual reality.
I mean, they have stuff like that, but it's not a theme park, right? It's just It's just kind of like a headset thing, and you don't feel anything.
Right. It's not like a true theme park, right? Like I did that with Iron Man.
Thrill, right?
I did that with Iron Man VR, and I turned the air conditioner on myself to make it feel like I was flying.
That's awesome. See, none of the shows that'd be like you geek.
Yeah.
But here it's like you geek. Geek.
Yeah. So I mean, that was a great game. That's actually still a top 10 game for me this year. Iron Man VR was.
I look forward to rummaging through your things to play that one day.
Yes, actually, that would. Yeah, one day.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah. I think you'll enjoy it. See, for me, it's obviously gonna be something video game related, but I think,
of course. I mean, I know what game you'd want to be in.
I mean, there's so many to choose from Legend of Zelda, Mega Man.
Mega Man's your answer.
Yeah,
just so you know.
Mega Man was my first answer. Honestly,
that's got to be your answer.
I only thought of Zelda just because I'm playing that. I'm also much like Logan playing Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna get a Zelda theme park. I think that's gonna be part of the Nintendo.
I think it's gonna be added on to Super Nintendo.
I also should mention, like, the reason we didn't say Batman is because that exists.
Technically, that's Six. Yeah, you have that whole thing in Six Flags. Yeah, exactly.
Ray and I spent a lot of time on the original Batman ride at Six Flags New Jersey.
Batman ride and Nitro.
Yeah, right.
Remember me and Lee rode Nitro in the rain.
Yeah, and it hurt, and it was awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember us laughing like uncontrollably because we were in pain and we didn't care.
Yeah.
I mean, it hurt.
Oh yeah. When you're flying through the raindrops that fast,
going 80.
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts.
I remember screaming at you, "This hurts!"
Yeah.
You're like, "Yeah."
But it's awesome.
One of the cool things about Six Flags New Jersey Great Adventure is that original Batman ride, which is based off of the 1989 Batman. It's the only way to transport into Gotham City from that movie. It's actually a really good ride, the Batmobile ride. I wish they had maintained it better. You could tell as it was getting older, they didn't care.
Yeah.
They did tear down the Batman and Joker ride, or the ice and whatever that was. Because it was horrible.
Fire and Ice or whatever.
Yeah, it was a stupid ride. I don't know. I haven't been there in years, but Nitro is a fun ride. But my point was Warner Brothers has the comic books kind of taken care of.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. I think
Mega Man, right? Mega Man World?
Oh, yeah.
I can see you doing
that. Definitely. Fighting all the robot masters, taking their powers. Right. For sure.
That'd be fun.
Sure. And also, don't forget, there's also Marvel has a thing down in Florida as well at Universal Orlando. I still think they have the Marvel Superheroes park.
Wasn't that Disney?
So. No, the Marvel Superheroes is Universal.
Oh, that's right. We might switch now, but I remember being on the Hulk ride, which was an awesome ride, by the way.
The Hulk roller coaster is phenomenal.
There's a twist right at the beginning you're not you might not be expecting. The ride kind of gives it away. It's like, you may be thrusted quickly.
Yeah.
Very quickly. Just make sure you know that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was, I remember.
You're right, though. That is at Universal Studios. I wonder if Disney's going to buy that back or do something with that.
Yeah, I'm sure that's licensed or whatever, right? Like now a licensing fee, which used to just go to Marvel, goes to Disney instead, which is funny that Universal is basically giving Marvel money, or Disney money, I should say, which obviously the biggest competitor. Yeah. the mouse owns it all, folks.
Yeah. What's your name? Oh, it's me, Mario. Where are you from? Not here. Would you like to come inside my office? No, this is my brother, Luigi. You've got a brother, huh? This is Goofy and Pluto and Daffy and Daisy and my friends. Oh, this is Bowser. This is going too far. That would be a fight for the English.
Oh, is that your friend? No, he's my mortal enemy, but it's okay.
Yeah. Listen.
Sometimes we have a party together.
Yeah. Well, we're an American company. That's great. I don't even have an American accent. Can we just talk about when is Super Mario 35 ending?
March. End of
Okay.
March.
I just want to say I've really enjoyed that game, and because it's not closing, I won't say anything about it now. But we want to know what you think.
Yes, as
So
always.
let us know what theme park you'd like to see made. No restrictions. You don't have to prove it to yourself. It can be something that nobody else wants. It doesn't matter. We just want to know what you think. So comment below and let us know what you think. And thank you once again for joining us on this episode of Geeks Who Like Athletic Activities.
Yes. Better known as Geeks Who Like Sports. Yes. Thank you everybody for listening. Like Lee said, comment below. Let us know what you think. Obviously, comment on the sections as they drop. We had it was a solid, not as busy a week, but still a solid week.
For
but
health
also,
purposes, this was good.
Yeah, for the sake of Lee, who is still
Yes.
ill.
Yes.
We're gonna let him
I
go
will be all
Nate
right.
now. And
Yes.
here we go. So for Lee, I'm Ray. Thank you all so much for listening to episode 85 of Geeks Who Like Sports. We'll be back next week with more. But until then, good night. Good night, Nate.